being recorded.
Okay.
They did inform you all of that.
All right. Okay, we'll bring this meeting to order at 4:30. We do not have the minutes, is that correct? Okay. Will we be getting those next month, do you think?
That's the plan.
That's
I
the
think
plan.
Julie got them, but she's not in today, but I sent them to somebody.
Okay, fine. Okay, let's do the report of, first we need to introduce Maylee Brewer. She is a student from the high school, right? Junior high. Great. She's here today. And okay, Megan, I guess we'll do the report of the librarian.
It's hard to type minutes and talk. Not that. Either way is fine. Okay, so I've added the stats. Does anybody have any questions on any of the statistics? I did make a few changes to what we've previously seen. I'm going to start adding under resource sharing, the items borrowed by consortium libraries and then the items that we borrow from consortium libraries. I think that's a good indicator, more even so than the amount of money the books that we borrow cost, which is what the savings usually is a general cost per book of if we actually had to buy the book. That's what that number had come from, but I think the numbers of what we lend to other places and what we borrow is a good indicator of how much we're using the service. And then related to that, it's not in my notes, but I met with the other directors of the Lynn Library Consortium, and we are going to ask in the winter, not sure exactly when, we're going to ask the county council if they will pay the cost of the courier service for the consortium. If they do agree to that, then we can, as a consortium, most likely add another day of service. So we could have quicker service. Right now it's Tuesdays and Thursdays that they deliver items around the consortium. So we might be able to add another day, which I know would help us as well as a lot of the other libraries. So any questions on the statistics page?
I agree that I think that that number down there, that's a good addition, and thanks for thinking about that.
Yeah. And then for other statistics not within that, Tuesdays are our busiest days of the week. We usually we've checked out like 900 items on Tuesdays in September. I thought it was really funny that both Wednesday and Thursday we checked out 595 items on each of those days exactly. It's just funny that the number matched. We did add two more hours of service on starting on September 14th for Tuesdays. We're seeing what reaction we're getting from people. Getting a lot of people to come in. Some people saying they hadn't been in a while. The morning hours are allowing them to come in. They're asking for more hours, but no matter what you do, unless you're 24/7, people are always asking for more hours. Although I did once work at U of O library and we were 24/7 and people still said, why aren't you open more? Like, we can't be. From the public. We do have staff there for the most part, but that's when we do some of our trainings and other things now and get some behind the scenes work done. But we're just waiting, if we are open to the public some more hours, then scheduling is a little more of an issue if anyone wants to take a day off. So we'd have to work on that, but we can do it. Harvest Festival, I don't know if any of you came by. I was so busy, I don't know who I saw. It was a lot of fun. Had a lot of kids and teens and adults come by the games area, get some information about the library, and play the games that we had going on. It made me think about next year. We had a lot of, I was in charge of, we had a prize wheel that you could spin and get a prize. Had a lot of preteens and teens about Maylee's age that were coming by. They're like, we have nothing to do. This is the most fun thing here. And they'd spin the board and get something. So I was trying to think of ideas for what we could do for that age group next year. And we still haven't had our Harvest Festival wrap-up meeting, but probably something to bring to the whole that whole board too. Maybe do like a park-wide scavenger hunt or something like that to get more people kind of out and about around the area, and also something to do. But if you have ideas, I'm all ears. Especially Maylee, you're the age group I'm targeting, so any ideas you have. Summer reading, we knew it was going to be a little bit lower than normal. The numbers that we had are about the same as last year, which is good for not being able to do as many things. We're hoping next year we can do a lot more in-person programming and people won't end up being sick and all of that. We're working on going to have a Halloween story time and safety talk with an officer sometime on October 29th. I'm still waiting to hear back from the chief on what time we'll do that. But we're looking at probably right before the downtown trick-or-treating that day. So basically come have a story, learn some safety, and then go trick-or-treating. And then you only have to get dressed up once that day. Ongoing projects. If you've been in the library lately, you've seen we're rearranging some of the DVDs. We've had great feedback from patrons that have come in, especially that we now have a section of kids DVDs, and all of the ones in this section are rated G or PG and are focused more on for kids. There are some movies like that are not necessarily focused on kids that are PG rated, and those aren't in that section. But parents are really liking having that section of like, just here's some shelves, I know I can just grab whatever, or tell the kids to grab something. And then having everything in alphabetical order is really helping people find the DVDs that they're actually looking for. Probably nothing too exciting about the mystery collection. Just going through, making sure everything's in good condition. We have all the titles within a series. With Luigia's help, I've been increasing our presence on social media to promote library things, library collections, just trying some different things. This for October, I'm trying 31 days of Halloween items. Just fun to try to figure out a post to do every day. And then also with Luigia's help, we're updating the library website as we need to. So if you see anything on any of the website pages that you think is out of date or we need to update, just let me or Luigia know and we can take care of that. It'd be nice to know what page you see it on, because we had a patron come in and say that the website said we were still closed, but none of us can find what page that might have been on. So we're still looking for that one. It's not on anything I can find. Yeah. They could have looked at it like a month or two ago as well. I think right after we met last time, I talked with the architects and library consultant that worked on the library needs assessment for the potential new building. It was good to have their insight on the project and their point of view. So I think that was helpful that they were all both willing to talk. I think that is the main report that I have. I have some other topics that we can cover in a little bit. But
Okay, so we will do the fiscal report. Is that you, Brandon? Or?
That is me. Okay. Okay. In your packets, we've provided a copy of our most recent budget status. This is through the end of September. I guess the good news to report is that revenues are up compared to the same time last year, while expenditures are down. So certainly, it is unusual. Part of this budget is based on we've budgeted for everything that was budgeted last year as far as operating hours, book purchasing, staff. And so as the library kind of gets back into, reviewing their hours and possibly changing hours, I think we'll start to see some of that get eaten up a little bit more. But certainly it's still being worked out. So that's kind of why our expenditures are at least down for the moment. It's too early on the property tax side to say exactly what's going to happen for the year. The county did post their tax estimates. So for the library, we had planned for get to the right screens. We had planned for an assessed value of $532 million in Sweet Home city limits that the levy would then be able to draw from. Actual assessed values were 1% higher, according to county records, which is going to result in about $10,000 extra dollars. Part of that extra $10,000 in estimated property tax revenue also comes from a reduction in compression. I think you're all familiar, or at least we've discussed the compression many times, but we had budgeted for a 13% compression, and compression at this point, according to county records, shows 11.5. So good news all around there. Additional monies for the library should trickle in. The $10,000 excess in budgeted figures is estimated based on a 3% discount and a 4% delinquency rate. Sometimes we don't always see that. Sometimes people don't always prepay all of their taxes in November to get that 3% discount. So the likelihood that we'll see more than $10,000 is high. But again, hard to estimate just based on what folks are going to do for the year. So definitely good news on the property tax front. I think one of the things that still has to keep, that we still have to keep on everybody's mind is the fact that because of compression, the library is losing an estimated $72,000 in potential revenues. And certainly as local option levies around the county and in the city limits change, that compression and property tax values, or property values, sorry, as all that changes, that compression could rear its ugly head again. So we just have to kind of keep that in mind and plan for what could be. We try to be somewhat conservative on our estimates when we do property taxes. So when we do budgeting, here it actually gets kind of kicked off in a few months. We'll kind of take a look at what the market is doing and decide whether we need to scale it back some or keep kind of going at our increase rate that we have been seeing the last few years. So
the 72,000 that you're expecting for the library to lose, is that over a period of time, or is that 1 year, or what is that over?
It's 1 year. So the county calculates the compression. If there was no compression, then we would be receiving about $628,000.
Oh, okay.
And because of the compression, that automatically kicks down. So when they send out the bills, they're $72,000 lower for the year.
Oh, okay.
No, you're fine. I don't really have anything else specific. It's overall a good financial picture. I think the library is in solid fiscal health. I don't see any alarm bells certainly right at the moment. And as we kind of get through this year, I think we'll be in a good spot.
Okay, any unfinished business? Dawn, push your button.
I have a question relative to the minutes of the meeting, the last meeting we had. And I'm not clear as to why we do not have them when there's that much time between that meeting and today's.
I don't have an answer for that. 'Cause I'm not sure how the minutes work right now of who gets those ready and all of that.
You have something else? Huh?
Pardon?
You have something else?
Not at this time.
Okay.
Go ahead. Huh? It's off.
No, it's on.
There you go. You may not know the answer, but does Julie listen to the recordings? Is that how how the minutes are done? When we had, I always hate to say this, but when we used to have the minutes or the meetings at the library, Rose always did the minutes, and so that's it. So we're looking at doing it differently now, evidently. So I'm assuming that that's what happens, is that Julie listens to the recordings. And
So if I can kind of help Megan out a little bit here.
Sure.
Yes, when the meetings were happening at the library, Rose was recording the minutes on a recorder and then going back and doing them later. When Ray was serving in an interim capacity, Julie was sitting in on these meetings to do the minutes. So I think some of that just has to be fleshed out, given that Megan's been here a short time, and that hasn't really been worked out to figure out how best to make that work.
okay,
But I imagine by the time the next meeting rolls around, you'll see all of your minutes that you might potentially be missing, and we'll have a process in place for how that will work going forward.
okay, thank you.
And Legia did tell me that the video recording does do a transcript
Oh,
as
okay.
well.
Okay. Okay, new business. Now, looks like we have discussion about a fine fee.
Yeah, so
Fine.
I would like to talk about the possibility of the library going fine-free. A lot of libraries across the country have been doing this lately for a variety of different reasons. They hand out the beautiful iceberg that I gave you. It actually looks much better in color, but none of us could actually get it to print in color. So this is just about the time that staff spend with fines. So it's, talking with the patron, it's printing out or calling for overdue, like when items are overdue and we need to notify people. Right now, for a lot of we have a list that we get every day about overdue items, and then staff call the patrons individually if they haven't signed up for an email notice. And then there's also the cost of collecting the fees. I have to do the accounting on the library's part, and then I turn it into the accounting department and finance department, and then they do their part as well. So there is staff cost involved with that. And then there's also I haven't seen this happen here yet, so I don't know that this will, but there is, when people challenge the fines, it can turn a little bit ugly and it's not necessarily what staff want to deal with, and it's not something that our users also want to deal with as well. On the other side of that, a lot of libraries are seeing that once that they do get rid of fines, that people are returning their books on time at a much higher rate. They are seeing that it gives the library a positive thing to tell the community. A lot of the fines target those that can least pay them. Because if you have the money to pay a $5 fine, it's not a big deal. And you could, buy the book yourself maybe or not. But if you don't have that $5, you most likely don't have any place else to go to get a book that you might need for a class or for just enriching yourself. So there's that look at it too, of it does really target those that are least able to afford. So I just wanted to start this discussion. Eva did send me an email. She thought that we already were fine free, which is not the case. There has been, looks like Rose over the summer would be fine, had the library be fine free during summer reading or for those with summer reading cards. And then during part of COVID, we weren't charging any fines, partially because you couldn't really return the books anywhere. So that's just where I wanted to start the discussion and see what all of you felt and what you're thinking.
Well, I, for one, is not in favor of going ahead and making it fine-free. The reason for that is that it teaches the responsibility, encourages the youth and the adults to go ahead and follow the rules, but it also sees to it that the adults go ahead and get the books back to the library in a timely manner. And the fines are an incentive to go ahead and do that.
I don't feel real strongly one way or the other. I've had to pay a fine once or twice, and it's been a dime, or a nickel or a dime, and I always give you a quarter, or more. But I don't. If it's a big problem, I would think, if you want to try it for a while and see how that works. If you have any problems with people, I don't have a problem with that either. I don't know. Jamie, what do you think? She's not working.
There you go. I was thinking the same thing. I wonder if it's possible to just try it for a while and see how successful it is. Or I was wondering if there is any evidence from when it was. And I know it would be hard to compare sort of pandemic to regular times, but I was just wondering if it popped up as a big issue when you did try it for a while, if there was any sort of data on that, or but I think trying it for a while, but then knowing that maybe we'd want to re-implement it if it was an issue.
So I made Brandon do some work, and he actually has the numbers for the last 5 years, I think, of how much money we have brought in with the fines.
Oh, okay.
So if that's helpful for either way. I do also want to say that with my last library, we did slowly implement fine-free. We started with like children's books for a year, then we did like teens and then adults. But what we really saw was that people returned books when they got a notice that they were being charged for the book. So after like 30 days, you were charged for the item. And that's the point that they were like, oh my gosh, I need to get this book back. They didn't care that they had fines accruing until that point. When they saw that charge for the book, because it was an odd number, usually like it's $14.98 or something, that's when they were like, oh, I really need to get this back. But if it's $15 in fines, they didn't care. It was kind of odd that it was like sometimes less money, and that's when they cared more. So Brandon talk.
Yeah, so the fine revenue that the library receives is less than 1% of the overall budget for the library. It actually has hovered right around the $5,000 mark for each of the last, all the way back to fiscal year 15. So at the highest being in fiscal year 2017, we saw $5,439.15. So we're not talking a lot of money from in the grand scheme of the overall budget. Certainly that might mean a lot of overdue book fines and such as it may, but losing, if you were to try this, losing that component of the revenue structure I wouldn't say be detrimental to the health of the library.
I have to be honest, I'm amazed. $5,000 in a year?
Yeah.
That is unreal. Wow. I thought you were going to say maybe 200 or something. That's
yeah, and it's been
amazing.
relatively consistent. I don't, at least in the 3.5 years that I've been here, I don't remember library fines really changing. So, having hovered around $5,000 makes a little bit of sense without having changed the actual fees. But yeah, we've regularly stuck around that mark. Fiscal year 20, we dropped down to $4,000. 2021, we saw less than 3,000, and especially given COVID, we were trying to be a little more patient and less heavy-handed, I guess, in that regard. But so.
Okay, to make sure that I'm clear, that I'm thinking right, if we don't charge fines, we don't tell them that they owe money, but we still, if they don't bring the books back, we give them notices that you have a book out. It's been out 3 months. If you don't bring it in, we're going to charge you $15.
Yeah, so we would still, when the item is 30 days overdue, we would still be contacting them and saying, your item is due now. If you don't bring it back, you will be charged for the cost of the item.
Okay.
Which we are doing at 30 days anyway now.
Right.
In the 2 months I've been here, I have seen several people that were not able to renew their library card because they owed fines and they could not pay. And our fines aren't usually that high per card unless you've lost an item. This is sometimes it's a $5 fine that's on their card. They can't pay it that day, so they turn around and leave.
Oh.
And that's kind of what I want to prevent is people not using the library, not using the library card. And I also think even if we did like 3 months or so, or 6 months, whatever you guys decide, without fines, I think the positive publicity that we would get from that would be a good thing and bring more people back into the library.
Okay.
But the length of time, I'll leave up to you guys if you want to go this way.
I just had one more clarifying question. The $5,000 you're talking about, does that include the lost item or the full item charges, or just like the fees we'd be getting?
It would include overdue books, lost books. It's lumped into one general account code.
So some of that.
So it does include all of those.
Okay. What do you think about that, Don? Just maybe trying it for a while?
I wouldn't object. It's not the money.
The responsibility. Okay. Do we want to do it for a 3 months, 6 months? I really don't want to see anybody not be able to come in and get that. That bothers me when you said that, someone couldn't renew their card because they owed $5. I hate that. I would not like to see that. So anything we can do to prevent that type of thing. So what do you think? 3 months, 6 months?
I would favor the 3 months trial on it.
What do you think, Jamie?
Yeah, I think 3 months and then possible extension.
Revisit
after,
it then
yeah.
maybe in January or February. Okay.
What do you think, Maylee?
Liz?
I think that 3 months does sound good, but if it starts going downhill or it starts getting bad, then we go back to fines.
Yeah.
But if it goes good, then we just keep on going.
Okay. Do you need a motion for that? Or just a?
But you're the president, so I think I don't know the Robert's
okay,
rules.
we'll just do a consensus that we'll do a trial run for 3 months and revisit this in, November, December, February, the February meeting.
That sounds good.
Okay.
So the next thing I had was collection changes. So talked about that a little bit with the DVD changes. We're also looking at kind of just rearranging where some of the collections are. Our children's collection, especially the juvenile fiction, needs some more space. And the kids collection is what checks out the most of everything we have. And definitely getting new stuff then just needs a little bit more space. So we're just rearranging where some of the DVDs are. I'm going to have that juvenile kids DVDs that I talked about earlier. That's going to be actually in the kids section, kind of away from the rest of the DVDs, not too far away, a few feet away. But that will be with the kids collection as well. And then kind of starting the audiobooks at like the end of where the mystery collection is. So just a few changes going on there. I just wanted you guys to be aware of that if you aren't making it in every week, that there are changes happening. Any questions about any of that? So building issues, this is just something I wanted to have us talk about maybe every month, just kind of stuff that's going on with the building. As you all know, it is a rather old building, and there are maybe some issues that you don't see every day happening, and I just wanted it to kind of be more out there of what's going on. So in September, we had, we're having a lot of plumbing issues with the men's bathroom toilet especially. So that is going to be replaced. The toilet itself is on back order for some reason. Apparently that's one of those supply chain issues. So what we had in the library for who knows how long was a home grade toilet system. So it was not designed for commercial use. It did not have a large flushing capacity. I'm trying to find the best way to say this. So it did not necessarily get all the stuff down that it should have. And it was becoming more and more of a problem. The facilities guys did take care of it with a temporary fix of snaking out the pipes and cleaning that. But they have recommended that we replace the toilet. So we ordered one, and they will install it once it actually gets here after it's not on back order. This was not exactly something that we knew was going to happen. Nobody ever thought to think look at the toilets and say, well, these aren't commercial toilets. Tomorrow I'm meeting with lock people to replace the handicap lock that's on the handicap bathroom. It's not currently functioning properly, and it's also not commercial grade. All these little things you find out. So they're replacing that, so it should be easier for if there is an emergency in the bathroom that staff can get in there. Right now, we do not have the ability to get in there. And that could be an issue. It hasn't been, but it could be. And it's not necessarily properly locking unless you use the deadbolt, which is a separate thing. So we just wanted to make sure everyone's safe and secure in there. So that's getting replaced tomorrow. So it's just little stuff like this that I wanted to bring up to you guys so you know what's going on with the building itself. The building is older than I am, so there's always going to be a little something going on. So I think this is just going to be kind of a ongoing. We can put it under, I don't know if you want it in unfinished or new business every week, month or something. Where it goes is up to you guys. But I just thought it was something you guys should know about.
We just learn wonderfully interesting things all the time.
Yeah, and it's usually plumbing related.
Yeah. Hey, it happens at home too.
Yeah,
You said the handicap lock.
yeah. The
Yeah,
door
so
handle.
So EMTs couldn't even get in if someone was in there
They
with this
could-
old lock.
They could probably cut off the lock that had been
Or
there,
cut off the door.
but
cut down
they
the
could
door.
do something.
Yeah,
But not a non-destructive way to get in.
yeah. Okay.
And I think the one that will be put on is going to be ADA compliant, as far as I know. So that will be one part of the building that's compliant, at least. And the last topic I wanted to talk about, unless there's any other comments about the building, is just we're doing some passive programming right now, which just means that it's not necessarily something that we're not doing like face-to-face story times right now, because it's really difficult with having to wear a mask and do story time, and also to not have toddlers come running up to you afterwards and all of that. So this month, with Legia's help, we're doing some coloring pages. We have pictures for all different ages, you know, from very cute little giraffe to some very intricate deer and things like that, for people to come and take a sheet, color it, bring it back, and then we'll display them somewhere in the library until through the end of November. And if you bring it back, we also have some little prizes of some keychains, so for people. We've gotten really good feedback on that this last week. I just started advertising it on Tuesday. Had a mom with her, I think 5 kids come in like a half an hour of me posting something on Facebook and saying, we want the coloring pages. So they were incredibly excited, and very excited that it covered all ages of the kids that they had. So we're just going to come up with some other kind of passive programming like this to do that people can either take home and do, or something just like a grab and go thing. Just trying to get people to still come into the library and do something, and then maybe post something about it on Facebook. So if you have any ideas for that, I'm also all ears for that. Anything that you would like to see happen, especially for like the month of November or December. Just any good ideas, I'm all for. So that is probably enough of me talking. But if you have any questions, no problem.
Okay. Do we have anything else that we need to discuss today, Don?
Yes. We're missing an individual on our board, and that needs to be addressed, I think. And the election of officers, which it states, you know, that, what was it? Elections will be held on regular board meeting in July of each year.
Whoops.
And then also on here is the policy that the governing board shall appoint a new member for the balance of the expired term. So that is a job that we have, and to recommend that individual to the city council for approval on it.
You're absolutely right. We talked about this last month, trying to figure out someone.
You're actually trying your mic
She what?
No, you turned your mic off accidentally.
I'm off? I don't know. Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry. I thought you came up, I thought you were coming up with a wonderful name.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't have that.
Oh, anyway, we do need to be thinking about trying to find someone. I haven't come up with anyone. I don't know if anyone else has had any.
I hadn't given it any thought, but, well, I mean, I've given it some thought, obviously, but I don't have anybody in mind to recommend. But it'd be good, I think, that we as a board would go ahead and see if we can come up with a name that would be workable with this group.
The vacancy was posted on the website, wasn't it? Has anybody applied?
The only application we got and accepted was Dawn.
Oh,
Oh, my renewal?
Yeah,
Oh,
It's only up.
did I get approved?
I think so. I think council approved you.
Yeah.
I do have one lady that I won't say her name right now, but that had expressed interest a couple of years ago. So I'll get in touch with her and see if she might still be, and if she's still even in the city. So
Yeah, I think the requirement would be that you have to be a resident of Sweet Home.
Right.
In the city limits, but
that's the main thing to
That's-
remember. Yeah.
because I think there was somebody that applied a couple years ago that no longer lives within the city limits. But I have no idea if it's the same person or not. I just saw application things
Don, you
when
don't
in
live
my
in the
office.
city limits, Howard.
No, I don't. I was asked to go ahead and be on there by Rose, and the city council approved that. I think it has to do with the fact that I own considerable property on Main Street. And
I've wondered about
I
that.
believe that the decision of the council was at that time that if you owned property within the city limits, then you would be able to go ahead and serve. And obviously,
Actually, I think that
that's-
is true because
yeah.
that's how I was on the first few years that I was on.
Yeah.
Was because I owned property in town, and because I didn't live in town at that particular time. So I'd forgotten that part of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need to think about trying to find someone. So that's our homework for this month, is to try to find someone else. Okay, good. So anything else?
we'll wait and have the election officers next board meeting, providing we can go ahead and get a quorum.
So if I might add something real fast, just for information's sake, the city code says that membership on committees, such as the library advisory board, is allowed to have not more than 2 of the voting members of the committee be non-residents of the city. So
Oh.
that's
Okay.
where you get the allowance for Mr. Hopkins
Oh,
to
okay.
serve on the board. You could have up to 1 more if the rest of you live inside city limits.
Okay. All right. So, with no objections, we will leave this meeting. The word just left me.
Adjourn.
Adjourn.
Thank you.